Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bible study. Welcome back for part two. The giants will fall. And sometimes you just have to watch them fall. Sometimes God lets you be involved in the battle of getting the giant down, will give you strategy, will give you revelation. Sometimes the giants are in the spirit realm, and you have to be well prepared for that. And don't forget, every day praying to God, praising God, spending time with God will get you high in the spirit, and you can defeat those giants. Let's dive in. So we left from when David came after 40 days that Goliath, the Philistine, came days in the morning and in the evening, saying that need a man to fight with me. So Goliath became a champion. He defeated so many. And here comes David, a young man, attending the flocks of his father, bringing food to the soldiers. All right, and then his brothers, three brothers, are in the army. All right, verse 20. So we are actually in 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we are going from verse 1 to 58. So the previous verses we had in part 1, now we have a continuation. All right, let's dive in. Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up, and set out as Jesse had directed. So he followed his father's direction and instructions. He was very obedient in this regard. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. So they are on the two hills facing each other. There is the valley. And they draw their lines where they're supposed to stay. So there's that time when David was around. Uh, all right. Verse 22, David left his things with the keeper of supplies. Whenever he brought, he left with the supply person that gathered all the supplies, donations, we said today. Ran to the battle lines and asked his brothers how they were, because this is what the father want to know, how they were. Verse 23, as he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usually defiance, and David heard it. This was probably the first time when David heard it. He probably came on and off different times, but this was the first time David heard it. So now God is working into his heart. God prepares the right man, and not just for prepares in just minutes, and not prepares the heart. Like, it was probably, I don't know, years of preparations for this very moment. Verse 24, whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from his great fear. So what Goliath, he stepped out from his line. Even though he was there, you could see him from far away because he was tall, like 9 feet, or from the first part, over 9 feet tall. You could see him from far away. Plus, he's on the top of the hill. And he stepped out of his line, and he starts shouting and um, saying, "Give me the man to fight with me," yelling and all that. And instilled great fear in Israel camp, in Israel soldiers. Imagine this big man, all with armors and everything on him, is the stronger man ever. They knew. He's asking for somebody to fight him. always, when you think about that, it's what the enemy does. Even the one that comes with the words, trying to tell you that she or he, also like in general, your enemy, that tried the enemy to instill fear and try to tell that he or she is more than you can handle, and either put you down, say you're nobody, I'm going to eat you for lunch, you are, so and so. And it's what the enemy comes. First, try to instill fear in people, and then that everybody will back down. And even in the, if you look in, like in general, I'm watching the movies, I started like watching with the boxing, then we try to instill fear, like you see, I'm the champion, I'm the best, and makes like, ooh, like everybody will shout for him, get, him high and everything, and like applause. And it's pride. There's lots of things in that. He has pride, and that pride's when he gets like who I am, and instill fear in the other one. But if we stay in our place and ask for God guidance, God will guide us and brings the revelation that we need in the right time. So do not be fearful. Do not have fear. Just try to stay in your place, pray, and ask God to reveal what you have to do next. And through these Bible steps in David and Goliath's teaching, we learn how to do and what to do. Just say after 40 days that, I'm not saying like fast and pray, but may fast and pray. Not necessarily 40 days is a long time, but you can maybe shorter, make 10 days, make 3 days. So it tells you that after 40 days, they were just doing these. Like, I know Jesus fasted for 40 days and gave all the ministry that he had after. And then we try to come and instill fear and instill like, and it makes him out of the course. But 40 days already passed. So something is going to move on your behalf. Go without fear. Go with faith in God. God is always bigger than your Goliath. You can see the Goliath every day, or you may not see it, maybe it's in the spirit. But there is a way of getting the Goliath, the giant in your life will fall, definitely will fall this year. Be on guard and stay there in prayer. Let's go next. I know I chose this because you may need not much to defeat your giants. You need, all what you have is with you. God gave it to you. So that's why I want to go and reveal that to you. Whenever you have, and whenever God gave it to you, you have it. And that's all you need to defeat your giants in your life. The giants in your life. I say could be, sometimes I say giants could be addictions. Could be, I say, I'm thinking like, what else could be in your life that you have to defeat? Verse 25, now the Israelites had been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. So David is hearing all these soldiers talking, like if somebody will defeat, like who will go, because they have all these, promises, wealth, a marriage, like marry the king's daughter, and no taxes. Who wants free of taxes? Not just him, his whole family. Like whoever will go ahead and kill the Goliath will have all these. What else you want to have? Now, in verse 26, David asked the man standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes, like, who kills Goliath and removes this disgrace from Israel, who is this uncircumcised Philistine Goliath, that he should defy the armies of the living God? David sees things in different perspective than everybody else. He sees that who is this uncircumcised? When I call it uncircumcised, it's not necessarily when they're born and they circumcise their babies, It's uncircumcised in all the way, like the one who is wicked. Let's put it that way. This Goliath is a wicked person. He has no fear of nothing. He has like his pride is up on the roof. Well, not on the roof, on the top of all the prides. He has no fear of anything. And he doesn't believe in God Almighty, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Doesn't believe he has his gods that you see hanging on his on himself. All kinds of things he had. He is one of the worst. So in the spirit, the army of the living God are much higher, but in physical they don't see it. They don't see it. They look only what the eyes hit, what they can see in the physical, and they see just a big person cursing there and asking to fight somebody. But in the spirit, the army, like Israelites, those are the giants. Those were the giants. If we not have fear in them. But because fear overcame all this army of Saul, like all these soldiers, fear overcame them, became like ants, like small, because of the fear. But God raised these armies of God. Always God had his armies ready to fight. But this time, fear overcame them. So God had to send somebody else. And guess what? David was prepared all this time. Months, years, we don't know. The Bible doesn't mention. Now, let's go verse 27. They repeated to him that they had been saying and told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. So he want to say, David, he comes with a sling and, with him. And he is strong in the spirit. He's been praising God, lifting God up, having like an altar for God every single day. He was so strong and mighty. He was much higher than the giant. If we look in the spirit, David was a giant and the other one was like an ant. But people did not see it. They look what the physical eyes can see. But God saw in the spirit that David is the giant and the Goliath Philistine was a little ant in his hands. That makes sense. But you gotta to go to be like a giant in the spirit. You gotta stay and spend time with God to bring you to that level. And not just that. So David is asking, okay, if I'm doing this, is there be any reward? And what that will be? Should I just, get something out of this, And of course, you'll get probably fame as well, like, but what the king is offering? Is offering anything that he should consider? So he is prepared. You can see that. That's why I like that picture. I know it's more like a cartoon, but he is prepared. He's smiling. He's ready. He is the real giant is David. And look about, why am I saying that? Look in verse 28. When Eliab David's older brother heard him speaking with the man, like in the army there, on the Saul's army. He burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." The brother, that's why, now you can see this. That's why none of the soldiers were ready for defeating the big Goliath. Okay? The giant in the land had nobody so far to be defeated. Why? Because look at the brother. He was filled with anger. You can't defeat somebody if you are not right with God. And he didn't look he was. He blaming David for leaving this is few sheep, leaving the flocks in the wilderness by themselves. And not just that, he said that David has a wicked heart. So you can say like it was not just anger, was somehow jealousy and we're seeing he's, blaming others. He didn't see David for who he was. He calls, and always the enemy, when it calls you are the wicked, not them, always says the other one is, blaming others. And so his brother's heart, Eliab, David's older brother, was not in the right place with God. You can tell. You can't defeat your enemy if your heart is not in the right place with God. So one of these, so if you go to fight the Goliath, the Philistine, he will lose because it's too much anger and blaming anything and anybody, not seeing the reality and not giving credit to David that came with food to feed pretty much the army of Saul, bringing them to the brothers, bringing them food. He would not acknowledge that. He was burned in anger. So he has more in his soul, in his inside, the spirit inside the soul, that we're not allowed to defeat things that he could not see in the spirit. He will not work with God to become like a warrior in the spirit because of his anger issues. And think about that. If you have anger issues, you want to defeat somebody, maybe in the spirit, it's hard. You need to come to a place of peace and quietness with God and get your heart right with God in order to defeat your giants in your land. I say maybe a workplace, maybe I don't know where you are and what you're doing, maybe in the land that you are right now, maybe you're in a different country and you have facing all these situations. You can defeat if you have anger problems and you're not with God. If you will see David for who he was, he will see that David had a heart of God and God loved him. All right, let's move on. All right, verse 32. David said to Saul, so David went to the brothers, then he talked to the other soldiers. He saw the Goliath, the Philistines, and now he goes to the king. In order to enter the king, they have to let you go to the king. He want to talk to the king. Okay. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine of Goliath. Your servant will go and fight him. So they brought him, like whenever he said he want to fight Goliath, they brought him quick. They brought him quick to Saul. So, and he says like, Don't lose heart. I got this. I'm strong and I'm good. For sure. Verse 33. He had prayed. Don't you think it will not go like that if he will not be prepared? He prayed, he got prepared, and he knew he was ready. Verse 33, Saul replied, You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man. So what Saul said that you're not qualified, you're not capable, you're just a young man, you're not going to be fight this big Goliath. And he has been a warrior from his youth. So Goliath being a warrior from his youth, and he became a champion right now. And Saul, the way Saul sees the physical, he doesn't see it in the spirit. But David said to Saul, verse 34, Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. Imagine to go in the lion's mouth and get the sheep back and fight the lion or a bear. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair. Whoa, you gotta be very strong. He's fearless. He is fearless. Where this fearless attitude comes from is spending time with God. The glory of God, the presence of the Lord, it makes you be fearless. And says, I seized by its hair, struck it, and kill it. Seize it by its hair and kill it. I know it doesn't say had a sword or what he had, but he killed it with the bare hands. If you press, I say even, like animals, like the major artery at the neck, if you probably find that with his own hands, he killed the lion and the bear. Verse 36, Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. So he considered the Philistine, the Goliath, one of the bears or one of the lions. It's nothing, because the bear and the lion are much bigger than David and fearful, like coming against the sheep in the flock. And he says the Philistine, the Goliath, will be just like one of these because he has defied the armies of the living God. He spoke against the army of the living God and consider Israelites is the army of the living God. So interesting, like David sees Goliath like an animal that came and has the mouth and talk and put fear into people because of his mouth, but it's nothing more than a lion or a bear that he can take it down with no problem. Wow. 37. And not just that, he didn't like that he came against God, cursing God and cursing God's people. He can't stand that. He could not stand that. Verse 37, The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, who rescued me from the hand of this Philistine. Who rescued David from the hand of Goliath. He knew he has already won. Why see already that he already won? He see Goliath as just an animal, that he has no boundaries and he just wanna, put a show. He sees in the spirit Goliath has nothing that is over him. He has nothing, and David has nothing to fear because he knows the army of the Lord is with David, is with him. And David, he is a giant in the spirit realm and has no fear. So we're supposed to be like that. All right. I like this part. I like this part very, very well because this is teaching us something. Then Saul said to David, "Go and the Lord be with you." So Saul said, "Okay, if you say so, if you want it so bad, go for it." They're like, or pretty much they want to watch how it's going to end. And Saul say, "Okay." Verse 38, then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. So he put all this armor. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head, like armor helmet. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. Like with all this, he never had none of those. He was fighting with his bare hands. He fought the lion and the bear. He didn't need none of those. He might have the sling and kill but the way he said that he got the hair of the bear. I don't think somebody want to be pulled by the hair. And even the lion, the hair, pull it. I don't think nobody would like that. But so he was able to fight the lions and the bears. And then he said because he was not used to, and he said he is honest. I like his honesty. I was like, okay, put everything on me. I want to make sure I'm protected. He say, "I cannot go in this," he said to Saul, "because I'm not used to them. Like I cannot fight this battle against Goliath with your things that you were prepared all this time. I gotta fight the giant, just say my giant, with things I've been prepared all this time." So in order to fight your Goliath, your giant in your land, you cannot use the tools that somebody else was using for so long and just take it just for the battle to win the battle. You can use those. God is telling you here, you have to use what God trained you every day with those tools. You gotta win. Not in in that day you want to just use somebody else. You have no idea how to use them, but you gotta use them. You're not going to win. You gotta use what God trained you. If you didn't use those for just say at least 1 year or 2 or months, you're not used to it. You can't even walk with those around. You have no idea how to use the sword or the spear. You gotta use in your battle with the giant in your land. You gotta use what God trained you and gave it to you ahead of time and train you all this time. So that's a must. He said, so we learned this from this specific passage. So he took them off. Even though it was offered and just use it, he took them off. He could not walk with those. He knew he would not win. He would not win with that because they are uncomfortable. They are uncomfortable. They are not meant to be his. Whenever God gave him something else. And he's using what God gave him and training all this time. Verse 40, then he took his staff in his hand, choose 5 smooth stones, would be like choose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand approach the Philistine. So he took his staff, which is the stick that he was using for the sheep in the for the flocks. And so he had that in his hand. He chose 5 smooth stones. Because the smooth they are, the further they go. I did play with my children when they were much younger. We went to this lake, and then we picked up some stones, and we tried. The one that has edges, you think, okay, that will go further. No, the smoother one, pretty much more like flat, and you go this way, they will go much further, and you go in the water sometimes like just like that. But he chose smooth ones because they go far away and they hit the target very well. And so he got five stones from the stream of the water there, put them in the pouch, and he had a shepherd bag, and he kept them because I believe he used that before. Something is telling me to get away from, if he sees any animals, wild animals, coyote or whenever, foxes, I'm not sure if he will have those around or anything, he will just get with a sling and even scare them away. So he had a pouch for in the bag he put 5 smooth stones, and with his sling in his hand, and he put the stones in his shepherd's bag, and with the staff he approached the Philistine. God trained him like that to find and locate the stones that will work, the fine ones, that the edges are not rough edges, will be fine. Why? Because he knew that will go far away and that will hit the target. And all what he needed, what he was trained all this time with a sling and stones, and he took his staff with him. So the giant, the Goliath, he didn't see the stones. He put them in the shepherd bag. He saw he's just with a sling and the staff in his hand. So he's going and approached the Philistine. Wow. Whew. You think that he is, look at his size, but God gave him already, he knew that God will give Goliath in his hands because he was trained for this time, for such a time like this. He was trained, and this was the time. Wow. I know we have more. We have more. We have part 3 is coming, and we should pray that God will train our hands for battle with our enemies, with the giants, and will bring us what we need to take to the battle, into the battlefield, and to train us what we need. First, he had his character was perfect, obedient. He's socializing, talking to people, and get knowledgeable what's going on around him. People liked him. Brings food, brings, supplies. He listened. He's, even though other people wouldn't see, the brother would not see it because their eyes were like closed to see who David was. And sometimes it could be like jealousy as well. But God train us, if you let God train you, to bring you what you need to be to fight the giants in your land. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed. Till next time, I say goodbye. Goodbye now.